Exposed, the haunted YouTube livestream where terrifying unexplained secrets were revealed. Beth sat on her living room floor, the icy glow of her laptop illuminating her tired face. The familiar thrum of anxiety danced in her chest as she set the stream live. Hey everyone! Welcome back to our little corner of Maplewood, she said, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask. Her modest subscriber count had grown recently, and tonight, she felt a desperate need to connect as the walls of her single motherhood closed in tighter, but tonight was different. Shadows moved just beyond the camera's reach, whispers of a haunting presence that slipped in and out of her awareness. It started with the flicker of lights, a brief moment where she could swear the room held its breath. Then, a creaking noise echoed from the hallway, sending a cold shiver down her spine. Is that just the house settling? She thought, trying to brush it off. The chat was bouncing with comments, her loyal viewers engaging with her mundane life, but the unease tightened its grip. Did you guys hear that? She asked, her voice wavering. Just then, an object one of her children's toys rolled across the floor unnaturally, landing right into the camera's view. Okay, that's just weird. She laughed nervously, but anxiety gnawed at the edges of her smile. The chat erupted. What was that? I saw something behind you. Look outside. Her heart raced. Come on, guys. You're just messing with me. But the fear in her guts said otherwise. A quick glance out the window revealed nothing but the faint glimmer of streetlights. She tried to brush it off again. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as she resumed, the shadows grew bolder. Another creak echoed, closer this time, and a figure loomed just outside her window, a dark silhouette that stood motionless against the backdrop of her suburban sanctuary. Blood ran cold in her veins. Suddenly, comments flooded in again, warning her about the figure. Her breath hitched. Beneath the mask of her stream, dread twisted her stomach. None of you are serious, right? She stammered, looking back toward the window. She could see it now, the outline of a man, Mr. Jenkins, her neighbor, hovering, eyes no longer friendly as they locked onto hers. Panic clawed its way up her throat. Beth, your routine is predictable, the shadow whispered, a voice she recognized but sent through layers of distortion. Every detail he shared cut through her like a knife, words scorching into her mind like branded secrets. Suddenly, her home devolved into chaos. The lights flickered violently, and the camera distorted the view, amplifying her dread. The chat erupted with a frenzy of fear, viewers gripped by the horror unfolding. A laugh escaped Mr. Jenkins, deep and sinister, as he stepped closer, and she felt danger clawing at her senses. The realization sank in, the comfort of shared experiences had now become a mirror reflecting her vulnerabilities. Beth's mind raced. Could she trust the man she sat next to in the neighborhood barbecue and had exchanged pleasantries with over the garden fence? Doubt clawed at her heart. As her entire world quaked with uncertainty, she felt the unbearable weight of exposure creep into her soul. The livestream, once a beacon of connection, now morphed into a trap. Her story gripped by unseen claws. As chaos continued spiraling around her, a chilling truth settled in her bones: safety was but a facade. She was left teetering at the edge of fear, entrapped between trusting her instincts and the possibility of betrayal from a neighbor she had once considered a friend. The screen flickered ominously, and the last frames captured something even more horrifying. The camera wobbled as panic consumed Beth. The chat exploded with frantic messages, a barrage of horror that mirrored the storm brewing inside her. Beth, run! Get out of there! What is he doing? Eyes glued to the monitor, she recoiled as Mr. Jenkins stepped forward, his presence now suffocating. The streetlight cast a ghostly glow over him, sharpening the twisted smile that crawled across his face. The plasticity of her virtual world was shattered by the horror of real life, each flickering light in the room intensifying the sense of dread. Beth, your viewers know you better than you think, he crooned, his voice slicing through the chaos. The way he leaned closer to the window was laced with menace, as if he were savoring her fear. Desperation surged through her. She had invited strangers into her living room, but now those strangers provided the only comfort against the impending doom right outside her door. She leaned closer to the laptop, fingers trembling over the keys. Everyone, this isn't funny. I need you to. An abrupt sound broke her off. A loud bang from the hallway jolted her. She whipped her head around, heart racing as shadows danced along the walls. The door behind her shuddered against an unseen force. Stay with us. Don't leave, Beth. The chat urged. She could hear their concern but felt utterly alone. Gripping the sides of her laptop, she glimpsed Mr. Jenkins, still lurking. His laughter echoed in her ears, a sickening reminder of the safety she assumed she had known. Mr. Jenkins raised a finger to his lips, shushing the rising tension in her chest. They can't help you. They can only watch. Stop, she whispered, more to herself than to him. Just then, a movement caught her eye, a flicker of something in the corner. An affront to her logic, her children's toys seemed to shift, almost as if animated by an unseen spirit. The dinosaur, once a source of joy for her kids, now took on a sinister life of its own. Is this real? She murmured, fingers running along her temple, willing herself to wake from the nightmare. The camera grabbed it all, a surreal spectacle spiraling into darkness. Go ahead, show them. His voice dripped with cruel amusement. The laughter will end soon enough. Guys, I'm really scared, she said, voice trembling. She scanned the chat, looking for reassurance but only saw mounting hysteria. What should I do? Lock your door. A frantic viewer typed. Get to safety. Beth's mind raced. Could she even trust her own front door? The weight of the world pressed down like a thundering wave. She saw the comments urging her into action, but paralysis gripped her. The door shuddered again, more vigorous this time. Please, she begged, not knowing who or what she was speaking to anymore. Then, like a curse, the lights blacked out completely. The laptop screen lit her face in ghostly isolation. Silence fell heavy as shadows expanded, enveloping her like a shroud. With a flick of the touchpad, she turned the camera back to Mr. Jenkins, his fiendish grin caught in the glow of her laptop. His eyes were cold, reflecting a depth of something ancient, something dangerously predatory. Beth, he intoned softly as he tilted his head. It's showtime. A chill seized her heart. The viewers remained an unseen audience to the unfoldment of reality, an impending horror live-streamed to thousands. Her pulse pounded in her ears, hours of dread echoing as she realized the true fear was not in the shadows lurking behind her, but in the man smiling like a wolf at her door. What lay beyond the laughter and casual suburban life, and was she about to join their terrible tale? As she prepared for whatever came next, the final words on her chat screen sent shivers down her spine. Turn around. And just like that, she felt herself spin, breath hitching, heart racing. Beth's eyes locked onto Mr. Jenkins as she turned, a stranglehold of fear tightening around her throat. The room plunged further into darkness, and the ghostly light from her laptop illuminated the sickening grin etched on his face. He took another step forward, the floor creaking beneath him. Did you really think you could hide? He hissed, the malice in his voice sending ripples of panic through her. Shadows clung to every corner of her room like an unseen audience, shadows that only seemed to grow longer with each passing moment. The relentless chatter from her viewers grew louder in her mind. Beth, please. Get out of there. Move. A tide of desperation flooded her senses, but her limbs felt anchored in fear. What was she supposed to do? The door shivered again, sputtering against the pressure of something outside. This time, it didn't feel like just Mr. Jenkins, it felt like a sinister multitude was waiting. Her breath caught as the naive security of her home twisted into a battleground. Forget about them, Jenkins taunted, breaking the silence, his voice a sibilant whisper. They can't save you. You're mine now. He raised an arm, revealing something glinting in the dim light. A knife? No. She gasped, throwing her body against the table to put some distance between them. The laptop nearly toppled, but she steadied it. The wavering screen captured her frenzied expression, raw and exposed for the world to see. "Show them, Beth." His laughter echoed, sending cold shivers down her spine. And then, ever so slowly, he pulled the knife from his pocket. She blinked, matching her trembling hands against the unyielding surface. "Please," she begged, her voice cracking. The chat exploded with frantic messages, all breathless and desperate. "Run! Lock the door!" He stepped closer, the knife gleaming like a promise of despair. "You think I'm the real monster here?" he said, almost genteelly. "You're the one who invited this world into your home, Beth." With a sudden shift, he lunged. The chat erupted into chaos, the comments sped by like a whirlpool of terror. The screen filled with frantic pleas and fainting emojis. A barrage of screams, "Get out of there! It's behind you!" Adrenaline flooded her veins. She slammed the laptop shut, blocking out those eyes, every viewing face now reduced to mere digital spectators. Her breath was frantic and shallow. Sound bounced off the walls, resonating only with her own heartbeat crashing in her ears. The bang of the door came harder this time, splintering wood against the weight of something relentless. "Beth!" A voice like thunder. "Open up!" She froze. The voice wasn't Mr. Jenkins, but who? Fear rippled through her as she glanced back toward the closed door, feeling the pressure inside her chest growing unbearable. There was a part of her that wanted to believe in that voice, but the other screamed for survival. "Beth, don't you recognize me?" came the voice again, tinged with desperation. "It's your husband. Open up." A flood of conflicting feelings surged through her, fear mixed with a flash of hope, but how could she trust anything now? The situation felt so unreal. She stepped toward the door, fingers hovering over the knob. Her heart raced as the comments flared up again. "Don't open it. It's a trap. He's lying." A moment hung thick with tension, the knock coming once again, more insistent. Her mind was torn between her love for her husband and the creeping suspicion that this was just another facet of the horror engulfing her life. "Beth!" the voice pleaded, filled with anguish. "Please, it's me. What if it wasn't him?" The shadows around her began to skulk. The air turned thick and electric with danger, and her heart pounded louder than ever. She needed to decide. As she grasped the doorknob, a chilling thought gripped her. What if the real terror was already inside? And before she could process it, the laptop flickered back to life, the screen capturing Mr. Jenkins with a gleeful grin. "I think it's time for the big reveal, don't you?" With dread filling her chest, she turned to face the screen and the shadows beyond. She had no idea what was waiting for her, but she felt all eyes on her, an audience bracing for the truth. Was this the moment that would shatter her life forever? The screen blazed with Mr. Jenkins's face, a grotesque mockery of glee and malice. He leaned closer, eyes glinting, as if he was savoring her fear. In that moment, her room shrank, the walls closing in as if they were alive, pawing at her insides, suffocating any remaining shred of sanity. "Let us show your friends what real entertainment looks like," he taunted, his voice oily, dripping with illusion and threat. Behind him, shadows writhed, as if they were straining to escape the confines of the screen itself. Beth felt like a puppet strung along, manipulated by the grotesque figure before her. Her breath was a sharp gasp, resonating with the chaos that erupted in the chat. "Don't listen to him. Get away from the screen. He is not real." Jenkins turned, dismissing the audience with a wave of his hand, his eyes flicking back to Beth with a predator-esque focus. "They're all liars, Beth. They want to see you break. They don't care what happens to you. But I do. I want to show you the truth." She shivered, piecing together fragments of reality. Could the boyish face of her husband be a hoax too? What twisted game was Jenkins playing? "Stop it!" she screamed, pushing against the table. "Stop this right now." The wall of fear around her crumbled just slightly, but her attempt at defiance felt futile. Jenkins laughed again, a chilling sound that made her skin crawl. "What will you do? Call for help? You're so alone, Beth. All those voices, they can't reach you. They're trapped in your screen, just like you. He advanced, his body a dark silhouette against the breathless light of the laptop screen. Get out. Just get out of my life. Her heart thundered, desperation clawed at her throat, but the words seemed swallowed by the darkness encroaching. The door shook violently then, echoing Jenkins' mocking laughter. They can't help you. They don't know who's behind that door. Fear reared up like a tide, and a slim sliver of panic infiltrated her thoughts. A sick realization seeped in. What if this was a trap? Beth. I swear it's me. The voice outside echoed again, frustration thickening the air, becoming almost palpable. Please. You must trust your instincts. She hesitated, torn between the warmth of a familiar voice and the sharp edge of cold fear that nipped at her spine. What if this isn't real? She whispered into the darkness. Open the door. Jenkins urged, stepping even closer, the knife glinting in the muted light. Your husband wants in. But I want a show. Just then, the power flickered, the lights dimming to a near blackout. The only illumination came from the laptop, a beacon cutting through the darkness, exposing the scene in its grisly detail. Then it happened. A cracking sound tore through the air, louder than anything she'd ever heard. The door buckled under the weight of something or someone forcing their way in. Beth. The voice was strained now, a desperate plea. You have to trust me. The chaotic comments from the unknown online world intensified. It's not him. Get out now. He's lying. A dazzling flash of light erupted as Jenkins lunged, intent on breaking through the cyclical horror. And almost instinctively, Beth turned back to the door. I have to know. I have to find out. She gasped, heart racing, torn between certainty and chaos. The shadows from the screen lengthened, stretching like fingers creeping further into her reality. As her hand hovered over the door handle, the world spun out of control. Would she choose safety in familiar darkness, or plunge into the uncertain light where terror and truth awaited? In that heartbeat of decision, the door burst open, revealing someone inside the pitch-black void that whispered promises of salvation or betrayal. What lay before her was more horrifying than she could have ever imagined. The figure stood frozen in the doorway, cloaked in shadows that twisted around him like tendrils of smoke. As the faint glow from the laptop flickered across his face, Beth's heart plummeted. The visage wasn't her husband, but a warped reflection of him, skin pale and stretched, eyes sunken deep beneath dark circles. Beth, he whispered, voice cracking under the weight of despair. Behind him, the hallway loomed like an open grave. Each inch of the space was engulfed in the suffocating darkness, a boundary that held back an unspeakable dread. With every rasping breath, Jenkins laughed, the sound slicing through the air like glass. Look at him. Isn't he pitiful? Jenkins sneered, inching closer to the screen. Does that face bring you comfort? Or does his weakness bring you excitement? The comments on the stream spiraled. What happened to him? What is going on? This is insane. Beth's body shook as she glanced back and forth between the two figures, her mind spinning. The air thickened with tension. This can't be real, she muttered. Her voice trembled, a fragile wisp of defiance caught in a storm of fear. Open the door, Beth. Please. Her husband's voice rasped again, desperation creeping in like poison. It's me. I'm here to save you. Or to trap you, Jenkins sneered, eyes narrowing. Where has he been? What shadows have followed him? Can you truly trust him? Each word dripped with manipulation, feathers of doubt slowly landing in her mind. Beth looked hard at the figure in the doorway. His shoulders sagged, a portrait of agony marred by her own hesitation. But as fear crested within her, the power surged back, filling the room with a bright flash. With her heart hammering, she stood taut between the two figures, her mind racing. She longed to reach out, craving the connection she felt slipping away. But the distance seemed insurmountable. The distance between truth and illusion, between sanity and madness. Beth, please, you need to believe me. He implored, taking a hesitant step forward. The shadows retreated slightly with his motion, revealing a glimpse of his true self, a man she recognized, the laughter, the warmth, the promise of home. "Don't listen to him," Jenkins hissed, his presence pulsating with a sickening energy. "He is only here to lead you into the darkness where he hides. Where he has changed." The chat exploded. "Get out of there. It's a trap. He is not who he says he is." Each message sent another bolt of panic racing through her veins. In that moment of unbearable tension, her world cracked open. A terrifying clarity struck her. The door existed to shield her from Jenkins, but it also served to protect a truth she wasn't prepared to confront. Beth's thoughts twisted like a whirlwind. What if I'm being fooled? Her hand trembled against the handle, caught between the echoes of her husband's plea and the chilling laughter of the monster within the screen. She closed her eyes, lost in a chaotic symphony of sounds, the panic in the chat, the echo of a home, and the darkness that seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. Then, she lunged forward. The door swung wide, but what lay on the other side was no sanctuary, it was a tableau of terror. Her husband's figure seemed to ripple, a fragile silhouette blurring in the faint light before her. "Beth," he whispered again, but this time louder, as if trying to break through a thick barrier of reality. And amidst the chaos, a new sound emerged, a low, menacing growl emanating from behind him, resonating within the suffocating shadows. Beth could barely breathe. What had she just unleashed? As she stepped into the unknown, ready to confront her fate, the growl escalated into a bone-chilling roar. In that moment, she knew that was only the beginning. The roar echoed like a siren in her ears, and all thoughts of defiance evaporated. Beth stumbled back, her heart racing, as the shadows behind her husband thickened, swirling and twisting like a living thing. The flickering light from the laptop bathed the scene in an eerie glow, revealing glimpses of twisted faces and gleaming eyes hiding in the abyss. "Beth!" Her husband's voice strained, reaching out as the darkness writhed with anticipation. "Please, it's not safe here. You need to come with me." But even his plea was swallowed by the oppressive atmosphere that surrounded them. Jenkins' laughter slithered into her mind, wrapping around her thoughts like cold fingers. "Did you really think you could escape this, Beth? The real horror is yet to come." He leaned closer to the screen, eyes ablaze with a grotesque excitement that mirrored the feverish messages flooding the chat. Panic surged, and a part of her craved the warmth of her husband's touch, but at the same time, dread clawed at her insides. "Don't you see, he's not the same man anymore?" Jenkins shouted, gaining strength from her hesitation. "He has been touched by something dark. Something that hungers. And it's hungry for you. Stop. Just stop." Beth screamed, her voice breaking, wanting to drown out Jenkins's maniacal whispers. But his taunts were relentless, echoing in her ears as if 1,000 spectators were amplifying his cruelty. "Who do you believe? The creature wrapped in shadows, or your fragile hope that he is the same man?" Beth's pulse quickened, echoing like a drum in the silence that followed, a beat against the rising tide of doubt. Glancing back at her husband, his eyes were full of desperation, pleading, and buried behind the fear, something else, a flicker of recognition, perhaps, a tragedy she couldn't fathom. Amidst this, the growling intensified, vibrating through the floor like an earthquake. She felt the air shift, heavy and charged, waiting for something to emerge from the darkness. "Come to me, Beth!" Her husband shouted through gritted teeth, the shadow around him beginning to pulse ominously. It wasn't just fear in his eyes, it was a warning. "Is he trying to save you or destroy you?" Jenkins pressed, smirking, taunting. "Only one of you will walk out alive." Seconds stretched, every heartbeat deafening as Beth's mind reeled with what felt like betrayal. She couldn't breathe. What had her husband become? What was lurking behind him, waiting to pounce? A split second now felt like eternity, a decision cloaked in the weight of unimaginable consequences. Then the monstrous growl exploded into a dark laugh, and the shadows surged forward, enveloping her husband. She felt the pull, an indescribable force lurching in her gut. Time stopped as the world around her blurred, the fear broke free, racing through her veins. "No!" she cried, leaping toward him, terrified, desperate to save him, to save herself. But was there anything left to save? The moment her fingers brushed against him, she was met with ice-cold skin and an unbearable scream ruptured the night, a scream not of pain, but of pure, raw evil. The light flickered violently, illuminating a face so distorted it almost looked human, eyes burning with a dark hunger that gnawed at Beth's soul. As the connection faded, sinking with the encroaching shadows, Beth felt an overwhelming urge to flee. She turned to the door behind her, the shriek of anguish melding with Jenkins' triumphant laugh ringing in her ears. But before she could reach the exit, a heavy, clammy hand grasped her wrist. Stay, Beth! It was her husband, or what he had become, each word oozing an unnatural allure that promised understanding, acceptance, and doom. She was caught in a snare, both captivated and horrified. What had truly returned home? What would she become if she succumbed to the darkness? With a jolt, the room trembled as shadows writhed on the walls, curling and twisting dangerously close. Fear gripped her heart like a vice. "Will you join us?" The voice whispered, a tease tinged with malice. In that instant, Beth found herself teetering on the edge of sanity, the only path laid before her thick with the weight of despair. And then, it all went dark. Was this the end? Or the beginning of something far worse? Beth's mind spiraled into chaos as time dissolved into a shroud of shadow. The world fell away, swallowed by an all-consuming dark. The grip on her wrist tightened, fingers like ice that sent shockwaves of horror through her core. "Stay," the voice breathed, the seductive whisper laced with something rotten. Around her, the air thickened, suffocating her will to fight. Panic clawed at her throat. Just how deep into the abyss had her husband plunged? "Let me go," she gasped, but the words felt feeble against the pounding of her heart. The dissonance of her husband's twisted presence sent chills racing down her spine. She could almost see his face, or what was left of it, metamorphosed by shadow and dread. Within the depths of her fear, Jenkins' laughter reverberated, eliciting a wretched shudder. "You can't save him, Beth. You don't even know what you're up against." She summoned the strength to wrench her arm away, and though he loosened his grip, the come-hither attraction in his eyes kept her tethered. Ice fingers danced beneath her skin, awakening terror she never knew existed. Her legs felt heavy, an invisible weight pushing her toward the darkness that pulsated like a heartbeat. Beth looked back at the shadows that had consumed her husband, memories of their life together flickering behind her eyes, the sound of laughter, stolen kisses, everything that was now steeped in twisted treachery. "No! I won't lose you!" she yelled, inhaling courage deep into her lungs. The air stank like sulfur, thick and incriminating. "You are not him!" A guttural roar erupted from the void, drowning out her resolve as the darkness pulsated hungry, swirling closer. It felt alive, its breath brushing against her cheeks like a sickly caress. "You're wrong," her husband replied, his voice a chilling harmony of familiarity and horror. "I am everything now. You don't understand the power I've found." "What power? What do they want?" Her voice cracked, words tumbling out in a desperate plea. But he didn't answer. Instead, the shadows swarmed, coiling like serpents around them, and Beth staggered back, fear clawing at her sanity. She could feel their coldness licking at her skin, taunting her with unfathomable whispers. They spoke of fear, despair, and unending hunger that would consume her whole. Beth's throat tightened. She didn't know how to save him. Maybe she couldn't save anyone at all. The impossible choice locked her in mental torment: leave and lose him forever to the maw of darkness, or succumb to whatever awaited her on the other side. The lights flickered again, a brief swing of illumination that caught her husband's eyes glinting, hungry and empty. "Join us, Beth. It's the only way." The shadows began to snap, closing in tighter, ready to drag her into oblivion. Screams bubbled inside her, desperation morphing into rage. "I won't let you take me," she screamed defiantly, rushing toward the door, trying to shake off the overwhelming grip of despair. But as she neared the exit, cold fingers snatched her waist, pulling her backwards, back into the fray of shadows. "You belong to us now." She stumbled but wouldn't give up. Her hands clawed at the wall, seeking anything to anchor her against the tide of impending doom. The darkness loomed over her, pressing in, demanding. Then she saw it, her husband, or what remained of him. His face twisted in an eerie semblance of his old self, and agony mingled with an insatiable hunger. "Beth," he called, voice echoing with desperation. Remember us. Fight it. And then, all went silent. The shadows halted, as if anticipating her decision. A moment stretched thin like taut wire, a decision pregnant with consequence. Join us, the shadows hissed softly, an alluring darkness that curled around her thoughts like smoke. She gasped, heart racing, caught between worlds. Her husband was there, but also the abyss. As the darkness shifted, churning with life and unnameable dread, she took a deep breath. Was it courage or folly that had brought her here? And just as the shadows swelled to engulf her, a new realization dawned, a flicker of light in the thickening dark. What if she could become something else? With her vision blurring at the edges, she braced herself, ready to fight. But could she even understand the true horror of what she would become? The answer lurked, betrayed by a smile on Jenkins' face, promising a new horror yet to come. The shadows hesitated, stunned by Beth's defiance. Each heartbeat echoed painfully in her ears, a drumbeat of dread urging her to flee or succumb. She felt the cold tendrils retreat unsteadily, drawing breath as whispers of doubt filled the void. Beth, her husband's voice slithered through the darkness, desperate and tormented. The figure stepped closer, the features shifting, almost forming back into the man she loved. Don't let them take you. I'm still in here. Fight this. With adrenaline surging through her veins, she pushed back harder against the encroaching darkness, willing the shadows to recede. No. You're not him. You're trapped, but I won't fall for this. Jenkins' laughter rang out again, a cold, mocking sound that sent shivers through her core. The truth is a bitter pill, isn't it? The more you fight, the more you lose. Join us. As memories of their love intertwined with visions of monstrous despair, an anguished cry escaped Beth's throat. She could almost see her husband, once warm and kind, transformed into an embodiment of hunger and torment. What do you want with us? She shouted, straining against the palpable despair that threatened to consume her. They want to feast on the anguish of your heart, Jenkins replied, stepping into the wavering light. Every tear, every doubt, it fuels our power. Her breath quickened as images danced in her mind, her grief, her panic feeding the shadows. No! She screamed, shaking her head furiously. I won't give you my pain. But the shadows cackled, wrapping tighter, savoring her resistance like a delicate morsel. Beth felt the heat of their malevolence, sharp and biting, and an overwhelming urge to escape surged within her. The dark was all-consuming, drenching her in its filthy embrace, and she fought against the rising tide, but a nagging doubt gnawed at her spirit. Could she navigate her way through this maze of despair? Could she defy the dark? Help me! She cried to her husband, but his eyes flickered. A spark of humanity was fighting to be seen beneath the veil of darkness clinging to him. Beth, don't let go. Remember me. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, a sharp intake of breath from all corners. There was power in her words, a flicker of hope ignited within her heart. Maybe she could still reach him. Fight! She urged, spitting the words through gritted teeth like venom. I'll never give up on you. We are stronger than this. The walls around them trembled, shadows shivering in disbelief. A sound like thunder rippled the dark. For a brief moment, the abyss shrank back, revealing glimpses of familiar hallways from their home, the laughter echoing as if mocking her resolve. Bring her back! Jenkins roared, the strain of his once noble voice straining to rise above the mounting chaos. The flicker of light expanded, casting eerie silhouettes against the walls, sharp and vivid, like uncorked memories. As the shadows pressed in again, Beth felt her heart wane just as quickly. Despair tried to wrap its coils around her torso, drawing her back into the darkness. The warmth she felt flickering away like the last light at dusk. Beth steadied herself. No, you're still here. She reminded herself, focusing on the shadows in her husband's form, fighting to see beyond the horror. Suddenly, a shatter, a surge. The flicker of light erupted, and for a moment, their eyes locked. She saw it, a glimmer of the love they once shared. Beth! He cried, reaching out. Don't let them! But the shadows rushed in, desperate to snuff out the fire, blinding her, deafening with its roar. The intensity of the moment froze. The balance was tipping. It was either life or eternal darkness. And then silence again. As Beth stood on the precipice of hope and dread, a new voice cut through a whisper that sent ice down her spine. You think you can save him? You're wrong. The real horror is just beginning. With that, the walls around her began to shift and dissolve, revealing a landscape teeming with shadows, all hungry for her despair. And suddenly, Beth understood. They weren't just after her husband, they wanted her too. Dark laughter climbed around her like creeping vines, entwining her within their grasp. A stifling dread enveloped her once again. What would she have to sacrifice to save him? As she teetered on the edge of the abyss, so many questions swirled in her mind. Would she have the strength to face whatever lay ahead? The answer echoed in the darkness surrounding her. It was far from over. The shadows thickened, swirling like a tempest as Beth struggled to anchor herself in this harrowing plane of existence. Her heart raced, pounding like a drum of war against the relentless clamor of despair, the hollow sound echoing in her head. She pressed her back against the crumbling wall, desperate for anything solid to cling to. You have to come with us, Beth, Jenkins's voice twisted around her, dripping with malice. You think your love is strong enough? You'll never find what you seek. No! She shouted, screaming to drown out his taunts. You're wrong. I will find him. The shadows coiled in closer, each tendril a serpent aiming to sink its fangs into her resolve. They hissed in her ear, their breath icy, their whispers like broken glass. They painted images of loss, horrors designed to break her into 1,000 pieces. Each moment of anguish radiated a sickening pleasure. Look around, Jenkins sneered, gesturing to the dissolving scenery. It morphed from the echoing hallways of their home into disorienting landscapes where memories twisted grotesquely. Faces of loved ones blended with grotesque figures, a chilling mockery of the happiness she once knew. You can't escape your fate. But amidst the whirlpool of despair, a singular thread of her husband's warmth lingered. It flickered brightly, fighting against the dark. She could feel it struggling to remain. In that heartbeat of clarity, she drew from it, letting it fuel her courage. I want to let go of the light. She thrust her hands forward, conjuring everything she had: the love, the joyous moments, the whispered dreams between them. The flickering warmth surged in response, pushing against the shadows that encroached, creating veins of light that sliced through the darkness. The laughter faltered, replaced by furious screeches, deafening in their cruelty. You think this will save you? Jenkins howled, raging against the light. You are merely feeding us. With her breath coming faster, Beth summoned memories that shone brighter than the abyss. Their wedding, rainy days filled with laughter, and quiet evenings lost in each other's gaze, all rushing back, flooding her veins with defiance. You want to take what I hold dear. She spat, her voice now a fierce weapon. The shadows recoiled, hissing like flames chasing away a gust of wind. They morphed in agitation, trying to snuff out her light, but she thrust forward with it, determined to reach her husband. You're still in there. I believe in you. Yet, Jenkins charged forward, a tempest in their midst. No more games. He screamed, dark energy spilling from his form, distorting the very fabric of reality around them. The world twisted violently, merging past regrets and future fears into a churning maelstrom. Choose join us or watch him perish. Beth's heart shuddered. In that moment, an overwhelming sense of dread coursed through her. Would she have to choose between her own soul and the man she loved? She was raw, exposed, teetering on a precipice of one final choice. The darkness bared its teeth, ready to consume. Choose now. A cacophony rose around her, suffocating her thoughts, drowning her in an ocean of terror. Her breath quickened, her mind racing. The shadows were closing in again, the darkness threatening to consume her whole. How far was she willing to go to save him? As the echoes of despair clawed at her sanity, she felt a surge within, a seed of hope blossoming fiercely even amid the terror. I will not yield. She roared back, feeling the warmth of that love radiate and swell within her. If she was to face this nightmare, she would do it with everything she had. But deep within the rising chaos, gripped by frustration and despair, a new voice emerged, soft, sweet, and filled with dread. Don't you see, Beth? Sacrifice is the only way. You'll have to lose a part of yourself to save him. Will you do it? Beth froze, heart racing, as shadows crept closer, ready to engulf her. What would it truly mean to save him? In the dark, the question echoed relentlessly, and as the final remnants of light flickered, she realized too late that the answer was about to unfold in a way she could never have anticipated. What price would she pay for love? And would it be enough to save them both? The darkness stirred, hungry for her answer. The night waited, coiled to strike. Beth stood at the edge of the abyss, the shadows swirling around her like a tempest, a cacophony of whispers and laughter taunting her resolve. The weight of choice pressed down on her chest. What do I sacrifice, she wondered, desperation clawing at her mind. How far am I willing to go? Join us, Beth, Jenkins hissed, his eyes glowing with malice, the very embodiment of darkness wrapped in false comfort. With each flick of his wrist, shadows lunged closer, a hungry pack ready to devour her soul. Leave behind the broken dreams and embrace the thrill of power. No! She shouted, rallying the last embers of strength within her. I won't trade my love for power. Her heart raced, tethered to the warmth that refused to fade, the memories of laughter and love pushed painfully by the darkness. Love? Jenkins sneered, love is your weakness. It will be your downfall. He advanced, shadows flaring. The room felt like a dungeon, every corner suffocating with dread, but Beth breathed in deeply. For every chance she took, a flicker of light rekindled inside her. I won't let you take me. This fire ignited her further. Love was more than a memory, it was a weapon. Let him go. You don't own him. She shouted, her voice betraying no hint of fear, now fueled by a growing fury. The shadows hissed, recoiling from her defiance. He is still in there. I can reach him. The chaotic maelstrom shifted, their screams morphing into a cacophony of desperate pleas. Fight! Her husband shouted from the dark, a candle flickering against shadows, his true self battling to emerge. Don't give in, Beth. His voice was shaky but layered with love, reaching far beyond desperation. Power surged within her. I want him back. She cried, gathering memories to shield against despair, wrapping herself in the joy they shared. The warmth she recalled intensified, sweet moments of laughter, whispers of love, the gentle touches that brought them closer. Jenkins sneered again. He doesn't deserve you. Don't you see? You'll lose everything. And with that, Beth pushed back. You've already lost. She roared, determination coursing through her veins. I refuse to surrender, regardless of the darkness you throw at me. The shadows fell back, startled by her newfound strength, snaking away, searching for a new angle to attack. The ground trembled as her defiance grew louder. We are stronger together. She cried, eyes closing in concentration, digging deeper into her heart. I love him too much to succumb. A painful silence engulfed them, the atmosphere thick with a sharp clarity. Shadows writhed uneasily, flickering in their hesitation, but Jenkins lunged again, teeth bared, eyes blazing with fury. This will be your final moment of choice. Beth's heart pounded, a war drum echoing in her mind. The choice is mine. You will not take me, she declared as she stepped forward, breath heavy with courage. And then it happened. A blinding light erupted from her heart, expanded like wildfire, illuminating every corner of the darkened room. Shadows screeched, shriveling back as the light devoured them, the laughter falling silent beneath her unwavering resolve. Beth! She heard her husband's voice, clearer now. The glimpses of the man she once knew broke free from the grip of darkness, seeping into the light. You found me! She surged toward him, heart racing, arms reaching out. I believe in you. We can fight this together. Jenkins roared in outrage, his dark energy swirling around him like a vengeful storm. No! You cannot escape me. But Beth didn't falter. You do not own our love. As she met her husband halfway, she felt the darkness dissipating around them, a battle against unstoppable odds turning in their favor. Their hands connected, warmth pouring through her as solidified hope surged between them. With one last surge of unity, they channeled their love raw and fierce, feeding into the blinding light that surged from Beth. The shadows shrieked in agony, Jenkins's form twisting, disintegrating under the pulse of their combined strength. You'll pay for this. He howled, then vanished into the void, sucked into a cosmic abyss where light devoured darkness. As calmness returned, the remnants of chaos dissolved into silence. Beth stood, heart softening as she gazed into the familiar warmth of her husband's eyes. "You're safe," she whispered, relief washing over her as they embraced, the shadows retreating, the light filling the room. "Thank you for not giving up on me," he murmured, tears welling in his eyes. "Always," she replied, a smile breaking through the remnants of shadows. Together, they walked hand in hand toward the horizon, leaving the haunted remnants behind. But as they stepped outside, the world felt different. Bright, yet slightly askew, shadows still lingered out of sight, gentle reminders of the turmoil they had faced. "Let us make home a safe haven," Beth said, squeezing his hand tighter. "Together." And as the sun rose high over Maplewood, uncertainty melted into determination, a future unmarred by darkness, bound by love and resilience. Now, dear viewers, this moment is crucial. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss anything. Smash the like button to feed the algorithm like a true fan. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about the finale. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need this story in their life. Show your support for the channel. This is your chance to be a part of our journey.